Welcome back to a palace that, sadly, we had to leave. Today, I share with you everything that led to that heartbreaking decision, what we've been up to in the interim during this absence, and also the glimmer of hope that there is at the end of the tunnel. From a sudden disaster that upended all of our plans, to an unexpected winter full of inspiration, we returned to Tuscany to make some radical transformations. And I finally share a new strategy that we've developed, which helps sustain everything we do. Finally returning to the palace with a battle plan to come back from the brink, all while hunting for hidden ceiling frescoes. And the detailed reveal of the biggest change this palace has seen in a century, with major consequences for the goddess Manurva. Let's take it back to wintertime, when we were in the final days of having to make this gut-wrenching decision about whether we would be leaving the palace. And while our buccaneering first 6 months of living in this place had generated some amazing progress down on the piano nobile, particularly the kitchen, it was upstairs where still there was a very strong sense that we were just doing our very best to camp out. There were endless meters of extension cables and sanitary ware that was clinging on for dear life. In the bedroom, we were sleeping amongst old wires that were sticking and protruding out from the walls and beneath a slowly crumbling fresco, or rather a canvas attached to the ceiling. And while maybe uncomfortable for most people, for us actually we were perfectly fine carrying on just like that. We were able to bring mostly very clean, fresh water using a pipe system that was snaking up through a hidden cavity in between the floors, going up to the attic space and then down into the bathrooms themselves. It was at this point that the new piping that we'd laid then gave way to the old rusting internal pipes within the walls, but that was a small compromise we lived with the additional help of some filtration systems. The problem arose from our vulnerability that these were the only 2 full functioning bathrooms in the entire property. And while the live water pipes were pretty much all brand new, the drains were not. After 6 months without major incident, our luck finally ran out. From the moment we first moved in, we dreaded that this would come. And with the kitchen recently completed, we actually finally had capacity to look into how we could improve the plumbing. But the fates beat us to the punch. The damage was very upsetting to see. Even dried out, as you can see in this shot here, the depth to which it had infiltrated these once monumental and elegant spaces was very disheartening. What followed was an uncomfortable, messy frenzy of waiting for approvals for emergency interventions that would be damaging that beautiful marble, just so that we could shore up the pipelines, both in terms of the live water supply and the drainage. Fortunately, we did find that the drain followed into a former servants' area, a corridor just outside the red marble bathroom, which meant that the destructive works that we had to do there to solve the leak at least was done in a relatively unimportant space. Unlike the red marble next door, which one day we'll need to look into how we can repair, at least in this space there were no precious materials to look out for. And side note, it's a fun historic quirk just to note how those old pipes were literally wrought into shape. We were glad to understand from the plumbers that the active leak was solved, but that the risk of a potentially even more serious rupture required a more intensive intervention, something that would take quite a few months to plan and execute, meaning that our only 2 bathrooms, our lifelines to be able to camp out in the palace, would be taken away. And just like that, we had to face that these months of making memories and warmth in this home were over, and we had to leave. And so we returned somewhere familiar, our investment property, Villa Bellator. It being winter season, it was no longer being rented, and so we could return to a site of beautiful trauma of where we had invested so much of our time to renovate this place from near ruin. A place with 5 functioning bathrooms, huzzah, but with much more that could be done to improve it. And with the money saved with us not having to rent elsewhere, we plunged it into improving every little detail further that we could, even going so far as to lay brand new floorings, albeit in antiqued terracotta, as a more durable and eternally classic finish than what was left to us by that disastrous 1970s intervention, as well as extensive new furnishings throughout, something that gave more of a warm contemporary Italian design to this space compared to my last video on this project, particularly as we've taken more of the antique furnishings with us to the palace. Not to forget the extensive work we did in the gardens to re-landscape it into something all the more special. Really just so much work during these months away that I'd love to share with you in a retrospective video if you let me know that you'd like to see that down below. And so we buried my drone after I got a bit too carried away filming for you guys. And among other things, we took it as a sign to take our work with a bit more balance, to be inspired and drink in the beauty that was all around us. We intentionally took some time out to visit Italian cities, palaces, and to recharge our sense of inspiration so that when we could finally return to the palace, we would be doing so armed with a million more ideas. But perhaps the most important aspect of all is we found a new way to make our project more sustainable. And for the very first time, we accepted jobs from a couple clients that were trying to realize their very own renovation dreams here in Italy, like this stunning grand apartment in the center of Florence, allowing us to share our now many years of experience and expertise to generate new funds for our eventual return to the palace. And in the end, it almost felt like it was a gift that we could have this time away from the palace, that we had the capacity to take on these new challenges and adventures, all of which served to help professionalize our ability to put our plans to paper. Now, as someone who accidentally fell into the world of interior design through saving abandoned Italian properties, there's always been one thing getting in the way: being able to speak the language of CAD. I love making mood boards and expressing my vision, but I'm often frustrated by the technical barrier of producing professional level CAD drawings to plan and showcase my projects. And fortunately, since discovering Rayon design, I can do it all. And as you may be noticing, what makes their tool so next gen is it marries a CAD interface that's foolproof, even for me, with AI-powered axonometric renders of my spaces. With thousands of assets ready to drag and drop from their CAD block library, I can populate my spaces with any technically accurate feature that I need. Better still, the conversion of my floor plan from a PDF or even just an image into a fully editable CAD workspace is done automatically for me. And I like that I can build and export everything within the web browser. So yes, it's super easy to share, but also I don't need to worry about my computer blowing up just to create a render. As not the world's most technical person, I appreciate that the processing and heavy lifting is done for me, so I can focus on my creative vision than technical hiccups. But really, the best part is that the whole workflow of being an interior designer is brought under one umbrella within the browser, from building architect-level drawings to using the power of AI to create any asset that I need or generate visualizations of my project. For me, it's never been faster going from concept to being presentation ready, making Rayon design indispensable for me. Whether you're an architect or an interior designer, or even just an aspiring one, get yourself over to rayon.design using the link in the description to try it for free. And so with winter over and the Villa Bellator rental season kicking up once more, we returned to our freshly overgrowing, forgotten corner of paradise, moving in yet again, with a brand new portfolio under arm, brimming with ideas for making this renovation season all the more impactful than what we could ever have conceived of before. And with us renting a little spot nearby with the core plumbing work still underway, but also with our ability to be on site every day now, even into the nights, and with a budget to back it all up, we've finally been able to commission professional art restorers to come and investigate the possibility of hidden ceiling frescoes throughout the palace. The exciting full results of which coming in next episode. And with the art restorers now a part of the team, we could also develop a recovery plan for the remaining few artworks that were not taken during the auction. All the more important because our dramatic ideas were now turning their attentions to the primary bedroom suite. And not only would the wall surveys finally unlock the possibility of us being able to repaint these spaces, whilst of course maintaining the decorative elements that there currently are, but we'd finally get permission to entrench the wall where needed to bring proper modern electrics. And beyond a new painting scheme and fresh systems, we could finally think of a new layout, much in the same way with our most recent works at Villa Bellator, that could introduce a more intentional sense of design rather than just relying on second-hand furniture as we currently had been. So far I'm thinking of a couple wardrobes facing each other either side with a nice little lounge area in the middle, but let me know what your thoughts would be for this space. But it was next door where the most dramatic ideas were starting to take shape, in a room which we had very much a soft spot for in our hearts, the Manurva room, where in fact the very first day that we had moved to the palace, we both nervously and excitedly camped within and slept beneath our protector. And after many discussions with our architects and the art restorers, allow me to present to you what is coming very soon. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to possibly the most exciting and the most immediate change that's coming in our phase 2 of renovations. And we are, of course, in the Manurva room. And in this space, we have wondered what we could do with what is a rather awkwardly proportioned room. It's gorgeous to look at, but it simply acts as a through space, a sort of antechamber with the main bedroom on this side and then the bathroom on that side. And we toyed with putting some wardrobes in here to give it a storage purpose, but that felt like it was underselling it a little bit. And you'd have no reason to really linger in here other than getting yourself changed and then being on your way. So instead, we've applied to the superintendent because, of course, all of this is subject to approval and negotiation with the oversights that the Italian state gives to protected monuments like this, and rightly so. And we have open discussions to change this space into a bathroom. But exactly that, a bathroom, a room with a bath in it. So we're not talking about any other sanitary pieces in here. That's still going to remain the province of the main bathroom that's through this door here. This is simply going to be a space where a beautiful freestanding bathtub will sit in the middle, right beneath the beautiful lady above me. And this purpose will give the room the ability for you to spend extensive, quality, meaningful time in this space beneath the one remaining fresco on the ceiling that we have in this palace that's actually intact and in good condition. And so this awkward shape is nullified at this point. It has this almost circular, oval, ergonomic feel to it, and therefore it makes perfect sense for there to be some sort of island unit, which is the focal point. Now, of course, the challenge is to make sure that all of the historical elements of this room are preserved and are made resistant to the change in use of this space. And so, of course, we'll be understanding what ways we can be applying finishes and the correct veneers, I suppose it would be, to all of these painted surfaces and materials so that any steam or splashes will not be a problem. But it's a fairly large space. I mean, I'm a bit hampered here with how I'm moving because we're currently using it as a gym. This is sort of like how far this room has fallen in terms of its grandeur, that the best use that we have for it right now is sort of it's cosplaying as a place where we work out. But the potential by using the space in this way, I think, is really stratospheric. Now, a critical part of making this all make sense is understanding how we can restore and thoroughly protect this parquet that, unlike in the rest of the palace where it's fairly in mint condition, here you can see this particular flooring's received hodgepodge repairs over the years and still has quite a long way to go. And in fact, the day after this video goes live, we're scheduled to meet a historic parquet specialist to devise a strategy. But with this need to open some of these floorings to make sure that the drains are suitable for another 100 years of operations, it's a rare opportunity to think creatively about the plumbing. Speaking of, let's move to the bathroom. Coming into the bathroom proper, There's a few changes afoot here. Now, first of all, this flooring, and we change it for a more suitable material, perhaps terracotta, very much the same that we used at Villa Bellator. Now, this arch is really a special standout feature out of all of the bathrooms we have in the palace. All of the other bathtubs are simply placed against a wall. This one has its own inset feature, and I really want to make something special of that. Now, of course, we are going to have a new bathtub out there. Therefore, it's the perfect opportunity to have our very first dedicated shower in the whole palace. When all of the bathrooms were renovated in the 1930s, they were all done with these cast iron tubs. Now, of course, we want to keep the vast majority of those in place, and we will give each of those a sort of modular shower system like this. But again, for day-to-day use, when you're dealing with spaces which are places you're actually living out of, and it's not a museum or a place that's occasionally used by guests, you have to think more practically about how the space can be modified for your daily use while still maintaining all of the characteristics that make it special. It then allows us the opportunity to have a beautiful, almost like, I'm thinking French orangery style glass division here. And so with this being its own beautiful shower alcove, the first big spacious shower I've had in my whole life, it's something that makes me almost as excited as that freestanding bathtub out there. Almost. Next up, we have this whole bank along here that we'd like to make into a his and his. And this of course means that this delightful piece is going to be moved over to this corner where currently the bidet is living. Very un-Italian of us to be taking the bidet out of the bathroom, but again, the lion's share of the bathrooms that remain in this palace, of which I believe there are 14, maybe 16, the bidets of course will remain. And then finally, this astonishingly beautiful piece of art that we have up here, joking of course, is going to be moved into these hollow voids that were built around to create the alcove. So we're very fortunate to have this space. The problem of where to put modern systems when you are dealing with antique rooms that have very particular proportions, often very thick walls. The challenge is how to entrench modern machinery, modern systems, modern tubes, modern valves. And in this instance, we don't really need to worry about that, thankfully, because simply in this void, which can be accessed from the corridor on the other side, all of these nice modern gizmos to give us clean, fresh, hot water are all going to live right there.
And with a final meeting scheduled with the superintendent to confirm which of these works can be pushed ahead, we truly are on the cusp of some amazing changes here. And just like with the blooming of spring, we so dearly hope that this will be a new chapter when life will return to this palace in a way that rejuvenates rather than simply treads water. And the very best part is that this is just the tip of the iceberg of what we have planned for the year ahead. Jump in the comments down below and help us out by sharing our journey with like-minded dreamers. From Em and myself, we're so happy to be back, and we'll see you on the next one.